Hey, what's up, champions? Welcome to Growth Mode. I'm your host, Donnie Boivin, and I'm the CEO and founder of Success Champions. I've spent over 20 years in the sales game and almost the last 4 growing and scaling our companies. Hanging out with me, as always, is Kevin Snow, the sales and automation wonder boy. This dude is an absolute genius, loves wearing tights and capes. And while he makes your sales and automation stuff just do amazing and awesome things. On the show, we like to talk about all things scaling and growing your business. Kevin, on this episode, what are we talking about?
It's not a cape, it's a robe.
Oh, got it.
It's a Jedi robe. That's what I'm wearing.
I'm calling you the sales automation wonder boy from here on out. That's just great.
Sales automation Jedi is good. I'm even fine with sales automation Sith. That works for me as well. My section on the deployment may have made Sith T-shirts for our deployment T-shirt.
Nice.
So let's Let's get back to why we're actually here today, and that is we're going to talk about why business people don't know their numbers. So, I'm wearing the appropriate shirt for today. I just need to point that out to everyone. And if you're listening on the audio, go check us out on YouTube. My shirt says winners keep score.
Yeah, so literally what was going to happen is we were supposed to record a different episode, but Kevin's like, I'm wearing this shirt, so we're doing this episode. So my shirt...
It seemed appropriate, so...
Right? Well, my shirt says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but then it has a row of shot glasses underneath it. So it's fitting. It's fitting. So, but your business numbers. This one's a unique one, and I think I can point to most businesses failing because they don't know their numbers. And there's a lot of numbers you should know. But for me, I like tracking a lot of business development stuff so I can understand what's working and what's not working. But I think the most important numbers that a business has got to have is the actual fucking accounting numbers, right? They got to understand the financial side of things to where they got to know specifically what's leading to revenue coming in, where's that money going, and then how much is left over as part of that overall process. And I think the biggest struggle in this arena is people run their business like they run their personal life. So their personal finances and everything else match their business finances and everything else.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. If you don't have any numbers at all in your business, you need to start with the revenue, profit, all that type, those basic numbers, so that you understand how healthy your business is. Once you have those, then you can actually start looking at other stuff. But the numbers are key, and it's awesome for me to have you talking about stats and numbers and how important they are because you're not a data guy.
No,
but
so I don't mind the data. I don't like creating the data. Big difference, right? I love give me the bottom line. I don't need to know how the bottom line was created.
So, but that's a key. If you're not looking at the data, though, there's no way you can optimize and grow your business. A big one right now that everyone's going to be talking about is the whole Apple iOS not doing the tracking, not sending information to Facebook anymore, and that is they are looking at that is going to increase people's cost of acquisition from Facebook ads by 150%. So now, if you don't know what your cost of acquisition was before, and all of a sudden your ad spend jumps, you're not going to know why. You're going to have no clue what's going on in your business and how to fix it.
Yeah, to expand on that idea a little bit, when you're talking about cost of acquisition, it's not just Facebook ads. You need to know what it costs to bring on a new client, period, for your company. There is a client acquisition cost that your company has, and you need to have an understanding of what you have to spend. Whether and that it's going to include your time, it's going to include any marketing budgets, it's going to include anything else. What that cost is to bring on a new client for your business, and that's a can be a challenging number to come up with, but I would warrant that a lot of people who are listening right now have never thought about what their overall client acquisition cost is for their company, or how to figure it out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when I pulled out the Facebook cost of acquisition, that was just an example of how not knowing your numbers
Yeah, for
can
sure.
screw you over when there's major changes and you don't know the impact. So cost of acquisition is huge. The other cool one that I love for some clients is lifetime value of a client.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a game changer for a business because I most small business owners think transactionally, right? They think very specifically. Okay, I got this client on, that's $3,000, or I brought this client on, it's $500, or I brought this client on, it's $20,000. What they don't think is about the reoccurring payments and what's going to happen down the line. We know with the Success Champions networking that, the lifetime value of a client to where we're at right now runs right around $900, for the lifetime value if they only do just Success Champions, the networking groups. So when we pick up a new person to join one of our chapters around the U.S. and currently and soon to be around the world, we're not getting a $47 win income coming into the business. We're getting a $900 lifetime value win that will continue to grow up as we continue to watch attrition. And attrition is just, the money coming in versus the money going out each month. How often are you keeping clients? How many are they fading off? And this all goes back to, guys, and I don't remember who said this, I read it in a book, but one of the things they said is one way to increase your financial situation is to increase your vocabulary around finances. So if words like, you hear things like lifetime value, client acquisition cost, you hear things like attrition rates, run rates, these type of things. If you were hearing these things and you're like, holy shit, this is the first time I've ever heard this before, you got some work to do. And also know it's normal to not know these things going into starting a business because nobody tells you this is the shit you should be looking at. Nobody tells you should be, diving into these things and getting a better understanding of what you should be looking at in your business. But this is part of the leveling up part.
Yeah, one of my current favorite conversations I'm having with clients is all around the client lifecycle concept and understanding the key points in time where you can interact with them and have impact. And the huge question I always get to ask that has people looking at me with this blank stare is, what happens if we decrease your attrition by 5%? And they look at me with the blank stare because they a lot of times don't even know what their attrition is.
Right.
And they don't know the rate of loss that they're having for clients. So when I ask them, well, hey, what happens if we decrease your attrition by 5%? What does that mean to you or your company? They can't answer. And they're like scribbling down. It's like, I don't even know how many people we're losing now. I'm like, all right, well, that's a starting point. And I ask it just for that reason, so that they understand that they don't know what's going on in their business.
And this, guys, is where it starts getting the difference of building a job and building a company. Because as an employee having a job, and I'm not knocking being an employee, I've got that. I'm starting to get people who are like, "Would you quit saying employees are bad?" I'm like, I've never said employees are bad. What I'm saying is you think like an employee, but you're trying to run a company, and an employee doesn't think about the numbers, right? They don't have to. Somebody else handles that stuff. But as a business owner of your company, you've got to start thinking more like a CEO and start thinking specifically about these things. And I'll be honest, guys, this stuff gives me tired head. because it's not natural for me to think this way. So, but I know, and I talked about it in one of the trainings we just did, that those awkward moments where you're not comfortable with it, that's the shit you got to be doing in your business if you want it to grow, if you want it to scale and level up, is get a handle on it. I mean, Kevin and I sit down once a week and we talk about all the operational things. We talk about, the numbers, where we're at as far as members in the chapters. And, we talk about all this stuff because if we don't put it on the table, then it becomes an avoidance thing. And the things you avoid become the things that destroy you. So you can't just hide that shit. You got to go straight at it and start wrapping your head around it. And diving in deeper to it so you can get a better handle on it and understanding of it. And neither one of us are business financial experts, right? By any stretch of the imagination. We've just fucked it up enough to have a decent understanding of it. But this should be that thing that starts pointing you down the path of, wrapping your head around what you should be looking at. This is one side of the numbers. There's a whole other side of the numbers that you should be tracking all your business development activities, right? You need to know at any given time how many reach outs you need to be doing, how many referrals you're giving out, how many referrals are coming in. You need to be tracking number of virtual calls. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts that need to happen. And, this is why I tell everybody, don't become an island. Because if you're not sitting down with somebody else and going through all this, you're trying to figure it out on your own, you're going to get confused and lost in the mush of things because everything's going to move and gel together, and it's not going to become a business. I mean, it wasn't too long ago I looked at Kevin and Chad and said, holy shit, this really feels like a badass business because of all the things we continue to roll out and evolve and keep going. And there's some mornings I look up and go, holy shit, this is really doing it. And that's a cool fucking feeling to see the landscape of where this is all going. But it goes back to, we're looking at things from the perspective of a business. We're not looking at things from the perspective of a employee that's just trying to get things done.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. There's a whole different set of numbers you need to look at. And I think depending on the level of development of your business, could potentially be a whole third set as well. So, there's a lot of different metrics you need to be tracking to know the health of your business. You have the financial piece, which we've talked a lot about today, the sales piece, which we've barely touched on, which is really key because that drives your financials. But then there's that whole third section for companies who have the employee base already, all your employee metrics. Employee turnover, how many interviews you have to do to hire a new employee, effectiveness. There's a ton of stats from the HR side that you need to understand the health of your company internally. So, that's a lot of stuff for people to manage. And that's why it's what Donnie says about you need to have that partner or that third party that you're able to have this conversation with is really key, because they're going to be able to track that effectively and tell you what you need to know to make decisions. It's really easy to get all these numbers and get sucked into the analysis of it and start trying to manipulate it and get it to do what you want it to do, that you don't actually ever accomplish anything. You don't make any decisions.
Yeah, what was going through my head is I think one of the struggles with people is this, for a lot of people, isn't the fun side of business, right? This is the portion of business that very few people in the world wake up and go, fuck yes, let's talk about grinding the numbers and figuring shit out. But this is the stuff that makes your business go. And I want to put a caveat on this. This is the same stuff that destroyed me at the beginning, and one of the reasons I almost lost the business, because I was spending more time trying to play with the fucking numbers than I was proactively out trying to grow the business. And finding those people in your world that it's accountability, but it's also allows you to bounce those ideas off of, forces you to level up your thinking about business. I'm not saying do a business partnership with somebody. But I'm saying get somebody in your life like Kevin and I have to be able to start hashing through these things and talking about, what you're tracking and what you're looking at and what you're doing, because it's those type of things that you have to be talking about, because the only reason people avoid them is, one, they don't know about it, right? They don't know they should be tracking and looking at all these numbers. Or two, they're scared to death that somebody else is going to see their lack of performance. But, as I heard on a Adam Grant, podcast episode, anytime you avoid it, it becomes more of an issue. Right? You have to name it. You have to share it. You have to expose it so you can start working on it and learning more. So I know we just touched the surface on it. Do you want to add one more thing, Kevin?
Yeah, I wanted to talk just real briefly, the whole concept of following your numbers. These numbers for your business aren't going to change as rapidly as stock numbers or crypto numbers and all those metrics do. There's a lot of people get sucked into, every 15 minutes they're checking their IRA or their investments to see what's up and what's down and making adjustments. For business, the numbers change more slowly.
Yeah.
So it's important for the people to not see a spike or a drop and immediately react. You need to follow the trends. If you see a big spike, you need to figure out, all right, so what happened? Did we launch a new ad campaign? Did something happen? Did I hire someone? So now we had to pay out more money. What caused that? But then watch the trends. Are you overall going up or are you overall going down? And then react to those. Don't get hung up on watching your numbers every day. Oh, I got a 1/10% increase. Sweet. Okay. It's the long game. That the numbers are there for the long game, not for, what are we going to change to make the numbers go up next week?
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Well said. So I think, bottom line for this whole episode is start figuring out what numbers you need to be looking at your business. The numbers tell a story. And you need to understand that story of your business so you can work on the things you need to do to move forward. If you're avoiding doing things like opening your bank account, opening up for me, my Stripe account, because that's where all the payments come through, whatever, if you have any avoidance of doing those things, then there's a major issue you need to be focusing on to look at your business. Find somebody else that you can talk about the business stuff with. Do not make yourself an island, because when you're an island, you have no choice but to mimic what you're doing in your personal life. Right? You have to bring other people in to share this knowledge, share what you're going through your head so that you can actively grow and do better with the business. So, as always, guys, if you got any value out of this episode, do us a favor and share it with somebody else. Teach them how to subscribe and follow to the show. Make sure you're subscribed to the show, because that means everything. And we love and appreciate all the feedback and the emails and the questions you guys send in. So keep doing that. And, man, love you, mean it. We'll catch you next time.